We're gonna carve Mimikyu. One of the funnest ways to practice leather carving, in my opinion, is by making characters. We have our little Mimikyu here, and we're gonna tape it down, that way it can't move while we're working. Once it's nice and snug, we're just gonna slap it in the face with some tracing paper. You can use some vellum if you have it, but this is kind of a one-time project, so I don't plan on using this template again. Using a fine-tip Sharpie, I'm gonna transfer the Mimikyu onto the tracing paper. Look at that smile. Don't worry if the lines are a little wonky, because you're going to fix that later. We're going to wet our leather and let it sit for a few minutes. And once it returns to a consistent color, we're ready to go. We're going to tape the Mimikyu down onto the leather. Make sure that if you're doing this, you tape to the flesh side, which is the fuzzy side of the leather. That way it doesn't mess up your working area. It'll keep the smooth side free of tape marks. Now we're going to take a stylus and just trace around our tracing. Traceception. And now we have another tracing, but at least this time it's on the leather. We're going to take our swivel knives and strop the blade a few times on each side to a super shiny mirror's edge. Guess what we're going to do now? We're going to trace it, but this time we're using our swivel knife, and that is a lot cooler. Hold the blade slightly at an angle with your finger in the yoke and pull it towards yourself. You can work as slow as you have to. Make sure your cuts are consistent and about halfway through the leather. And let's just enjoy how satisfying using this knife can be. Make sure to strop your blade every 5 to 10 cuts, because there's going to be a buildup of proteins from cutting through the leather. Once you strop it, it removes those proteins and you'll feel a very noticeable difference when you go back to cutting. We're going to go to real speed while I cut Mimikyu's mouth. I wish I could carve as fast as the video is showing, but sadly I cannot. With the mouth, I'm cutting a little bit deeper. That way the bevel of the knife separates the leather a little bit more, giving it more of a darker look. This part is really fun, and it's really good practice with a swivel knife, because we're going to rotate the blade as we're making our cuts to give Mimikyu its squiggly eyes. I'm just making multiple incomplete circular cuts, and working very slowly, that way I can avoid accidentally making any straight lines here. I can see it in your eyes! Well, I guess So we're gonna do the second one. And I'm really happy with these results. I'm using a basic pear shader tool just to add a little bit of depth into Mimikyu's actual eyes. And I'm extremely happy with how that turned out. This is a hair blade tool and it's completely optional, but I'm going to use it to map out Mimikyu's cheeks. It makes tiny hair-like cuts, as its name would imply. Now we're going to switch back to our swivel knife and just go on those cuts, making kind of zigzag patterns to add that texture into Mimikyu's cheeks. You can totally do this whole step just using your swivel knife, you just have to make really tiny cuts. Using another pear shader tool, I'm adding a slight shading on Mimikyu's neck and head. When I say slight, I mean very slight. I'm dumb and didn't realize that I was going to smush down my cut lines, so I'm going back over them with my swivel knife. You should be proud of the work you're doing, so go ahead and throw your signature in there. We're going to check our work and realize that we forgot to shade Mimikyu's tail. And our little leather buddy is done. You can either leave your project as is, or give it a spooky coat of paint, that way it really comes to life. If you followed along, then you did a great job. It looks amazing. And you get extra points if you follow the finger. Thank you for joining me today. Keep making great projects, and I'll see you in the next video that you click on this screen here.